The American Civil War was the deadliest conflict in American history. Between 620,000 and 750,000 soldiers died, more than all other American wars combined up to Vietnam. It nearly destroyed the nation. And it was fought over one fundamental question: would slavery survive in the United States? The roots of the war stretch back to the founding. The Constitution protected slavery through compromises that papered over a deep moral divide. As the nation expanded westward, every new state became a battleground. Would it be free or slave? The Missouri Compromise of 1820, the Compromise of 1850, the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, each temporary fix only deepened the rift. In 1857, the Supreme Court's Dred Scott decision declared that black people had no rights which the white man was bound to respect. The ruling outraged the North and emboldened the South. 2 years later, John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry terrified the South and made him a martyr in the North. On November 6, 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president without carrying a single Southern state. To the South, this meant their interests would no longer be protected. On December 20, 1860, South Carolina became the first state to secede. By February 1861, 7 states had formed the Confederate States of America. On April 12, 1861, Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor. The war had begun. The early months were marked by Northern overconfidence. Everyone thought it would be short. At the First Battle of Bull Run in July 1861, Union forces were routed by Confederate troops. The crowd of Washington picnickers who had come to watch the battle fled back to the capital in panic. This would not be quick. The war had 2 main theaters, east and west. In the east, the Confederacy, led by General Robert E. Lee, fought a brilliant defensive campaign. Lee won stunning victories at Second Bull Run, Fredericksburg, and Chancellorsville. But his invasions of the North were turned back at Antietam in September 1862 and destroyed at Gettysburg in July 1863. In the West, a general named Ulysses S. Grant was building a very different kind of army. Grant captured Forts Henry and Donelson, seized control of the Mississippi River, and fought the brutal siege of Vicksburg. On July 4, 1863, Vicksburg fell. The Confederacy was cut in two. July 1863 was the turning point. Lee's defeat at Gettysburg and the fall of Vicksburg within a single day broke the Confederacy's momentum. From this point, it was a matter of time. Lincoln used the momentum to redefine the war's purpose. On January 1, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation freed all enslaved people in Confederate territory. What had begun as a war to preserve the Union became a war for freedom. The battles of 1864 were devastating. Grant's overland campaign, the Wilderness, Spotsylvania, Cold Harbor, produced staggering casualties on both sides. At Cold Harbor alone, thousands of Union soldiers were killed in less than an hour. But Grant kept pushing. Unlike previous Union generals, he did not retreat after defeat. He said, "I propose to fight it out on this line if it takes all summer." While Grant ground down Lee in Virginia, General William Tecumseh Sherman marched through Georgia. His march to the sea from Atlanta to Savannah left a 60-mile-wide path of destruction. Sherman wanted to break the South's will to fight. Atlanta fell on September 2, 1864. That victory helped Lincoln win re-election against his former general George McClellan, who campaigned on a peace platform. By early 1865, the Confederacy was collapsing. Its economy was shattered, its railroads destroyed, its soldiers deserting in droves. On April 2, 1865, Richmond, the Confederate capital, fell to Union forces. On April 9, 1865, Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. Grant offered generous terms: Confederate soldiers could go home, keep their horses, and would not be prosecuted. The war was effectively over. 5 days later, on April 14, 1865, President Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater. The leader who had preserved the Union and ended slavery did not live to see the peace. The aftermath was transformative. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 14th granted citizenship to former slaves. The 15th gave black men the right to vote. But Reconstruction was violent and bitterly contested. It would take another 100 years before the Civil War's promise of equality began to be fulfilled. The American Civil War killed between 620,000 and 750,000 people. It ended slavery, preserved the Union, and transformed the United States from a collection of states into a nation. Its lessons about division, freedom, and the cost of war remain urgently relevant today. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Hermes History for more deep dives into the past.